2025 should have been the year where the absolute juggernaut that is Grand Theft Auto 6 dominated. But Rockstar instead gave other game publishers a chance to compete for our attention by pushing GTA 6 into 2026. We've had AAA behemoths clashing with AA trendsetters, the emergence of Hollow Knight's Silksong after years spent in shadow, the launch of the Switch 2, powering a new generation of first-party Nintendo games. Xbox Game Studios' acquisition strategy blossomed as PlayStation took steps to reaffirm its market-leading position. Legacy franchise revivals and genre-redefining indie games, and games which found their strength through fostering connection and collaboration.
So, we here at GamesRadar waded through the ceaseless waves of game releases to whittle it down to the very best of the year.
We actually have a full list of 25 on our website, GamesRadar.com, so be sure to check that out if you want to know what games didn't quite make this cut.
But for now, without further ado, I'm Hal from GamesRadar, and welcome to our top 10 games of 2025.
When this console generation draws to a close, it's likely that we'll view it as an era defined by the strength of its RPGs. From Baldur's Gate 3 to Elden Ring and beyond, we've been absolutely spoiled for choice.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will undoubtedly be part of that conversation, which is shocking considering just how deliberately hostile this medieval RPG can be at times.
Warhorse Studios has delivered a massive, sprawling adventure that refuses to compromise on its core creative vision. A video game where friction and frustration are treated as features rather than bugs. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 builds an exceptional experience around the hardships of existing in 1403, effortlessly immersing you into the period with rich storytelling, system-heavy progression and combat, and a lush visual design.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is an ambitious video game that succeeds in its unwavering commitment to knock players down a few pegs. The Outer Worlds 2 is a really interesting example of what a bigger budget can unlock for a fantastic development team.
When the original The Outer Worlds released in 2019 from Obsidian Entertainment and publisher Private Division, it was clear that a great concept was being throttled by a restricted scope.
What then of its sequel, built in partnership between Obsidian and Xbox Game Studios? Well, it's undoubtedly one of the best RPGs of this year.
The Outer Worlds 2 is a clear love letter to Fallout New Vegas, with Obsidian inspired by the depth and flexibility of its legendary 2010 RPG. But that isn't to say that this venture across the Arcadia colony system is some sort of throwback. The Outer Worlds 2 is a rich RPG with an expansive creative vision, with deep character building, nuanced storytelling, and exceptionally slick combat propelling the series to new heights.
Whisper it, but The Outer Worlds 2 might just be Obsidian's best game to date.
Elden Ring was our game of the year for 2022, our staff captivated by the billowing scale and complexity of From Software's opus.
The promise of more was unsurprisingly well received, even if Nightreign did threaten to take an unfamiliar shape.
The honed, measured design of Elden Ring's first area, Limgrave, replaced by a procedurally generated Limveld, home now to 3-player cooperative action. A big gamble, but From Software is always up for a challenge. Elden Ring Nightreign takes the underlying combat principles which defined the original adventure and hastens them, shoving your group into increasingly difficult encounters across a 3-day cycle to prepare for battle with a final boss. It's frantic and frenetic, the threat of a shrinking gameplay circle and risk of sacrificing all your progress in death is a compelling wrinkle to the Souls-like standard From Software established long ago.
Nightreign is a big change of pace, and a compelling new challenge for veterans of the genre. It's funny to think that there was a time when many believed that 2025 would be a slow year for the PS5.
It's an exceptionally silly observation in hindsight, but few would have predicted that Sucker Punch would deliver a defining system showcase in Ghost of Yotei. The platform recently celebrated its 5th anniversary, and here we are with an open-world adventure that feels truly boundary-pushing.
Whether you're coming in for the striking vibrance of its environments, or the sheer violence of its masterfully crafted samurai combat, Ghost of Yotei is a wonderfully smart sequel.
Sucker Punch shifted the action a few hundred years beyond the events of Ghost of Tsushima, a decision which allows the studio to take some bigger swings with its revenge thriller story, open-ended approach to exploration, and meditative progression systems. If you're after an open-world game where beauty and brutality is in equal measure, don't delay your dive into the wilds of Ghost of Yotei.
It's been 3 years since Konami embarked on its Silent Hill Redemption Tour.
A salvo of new video games were announced all at once, an effort designed to return some relevance to a franchise that's been on life support ever since the great Silent Hills debacle of 2015.
The message hardly set the world alight, but Bloober's Silent Hill 2 remake did demonstrate the series still holds some power.
And so, all eyes turned to Silent Hill F, a standalone spin-off that shifted perspective away from misty rural America to the fictional Japanese town of Ebisugaoka.
An inspired decision, with developers Neobards Entertainment engineering one of the most oppressive atmospheres to date.
Unsettling storytelling and a more robust approach to combat encounters makes this one of the strongest original Silent Hill adventures in decades, and a sharp declaration that Silent Hill still has plenty to offer the horror genre in the modern era.
Now, you may be wondering why a game released in 2024 is on our list of the best games of 2025 to begin with, let alone ranked so highly.
Well, the first part's easy. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle landed on PC and Xbox Series X and S after our voting cutoff, making it eligible for this year's showing. As for why it's a top contender, well, Machine Games over-delivered with this original indie adventure, anchored by an exceptional performance from Troy Baker, expertly capturing the gravitas and mannerisms of one Harrison Ford. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an exceptional globe-trotting journey that may as well have been unearthed from some hidden Steven Spielberg archive. The blend of first and third-person perspectives sells the idea that you're embodying one of the most iconic characters of all time with ease, while a focus on grandiose puzzle solving and slapstick combat only adds to the authenticity of this truly wonderful adventure.
The weight of expectation should have been crushing for Team Cherry.
Hollow Knight was a slow burn success story that effectively redefined what a modern Metroidvania could be, making its sequel one of the most anticipated video games on the planet. Team Cherry worked for 6 years in relative silence, the internet filling the void with an exhaustive flood of memes, rumors, and speculation. Could Silksong ever truly live up to the hype that has been thrust upon it?
Well, within minutes of its release, Hollow Knight Silksong brought the world to a standstill. It literally crashed Steam.
And what did millions of players find when they were finally able to step into the unfamiliar land of Farloom? A mesmerizing, utterly uncompromising sequel that wields its blunt edges as a mark of honor. The challenge dramatically increased, combat imbued with fluidity, platforming sections far more unforgiving, and yet, at its heart, Silksong is brilliance personified. The Nintendo Switch 2 was always going to be a hit on day one. Its predecessor is on track to outstrip the Nintendo DS as the best-selling Nintendo console of all time. So it's no surprise that millions were ready to leap into a more technically proficient system. However, few could have predicted the first big post-launch game release.
For his first starring role in a 3D adventure in over 2 decades, Donkey Kong absolutely smashed it out of the park.
Donkey Kong Bonanza has echoes of Super Mario Odyssey in its underlying DNA, though Nintendo have gone out of its way to imbue the experience with dazzling personality and transformational gameplay hooks.
Destruction shines bright in Bonanza, and the opportunity to really dig into the depths of some iconic Nintendo level designs should not be missed. Supergiant Games develops brilliant games with outrageous consistency. What it doesn't do is develop sequels.
There are legions of players who are left wanting more from the worlds of Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. But it was Hades' labyrinthine underworlds that the studio couldn't resist returning to.
Now, a cynic might point to the success of Hades as the sole reason for Hades 2's existence. But it's quite clear that Supergiant had more that it wanted to say.
What we have here is another phenomenal roguelite dungeon crawler, a best-in-class addition to the genre that sets new standards for combat, characterization, and progression. Supergiant delivers a great many of its freshest ideas through Millennium, a new protagonist who shines in the expanded, visually vibrant play spaces. Combat has been overhauled to allow for more skillful expression, while build crafting finds new depth through a wider selection of tools and divine boons.
Hades 2 is a more than worthy successor to the game that redefined the roguelite as we know it. The rise of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has been meteoric. The debut from Sandful Interactive started the year in relative obscurity, on the radar of few beyond true genre enthusiasts.
By year's end, this stunning RPG is clearly the defining video game experience of 2025. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 cleaned house at our reader-voted Golden Joystick Awards, and was the clear choice for Game of the Year 2025 from the GamesRadar team by a considerable margin. So let's dig into why.
At its heart, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a love letter to Hironobu Sakaguchi games of old.
The father of the Final Fantasy series clearly left a lasting mark on the relatively small group of developers who make up Sandfall Interactive, inspiring the studio to deliver a high-fidelity, turn-based RPG, the likes of which are so rarely seen in the modern era. In many ways, Expedition 33 picks up where legendary Xbox 360 exclusive Lost Odyssey left this style of game back in 2007. There's a similar commitment to storytelling excellence, with Clair Obscur Expedition 33 quickly establishing an exceptionally vast, layered world to tumble into with ease that feels effortless. Lost Odyssey also had this perverse obsession with trying to make players cry, another aspect which shines in Expedition 33, through its expressive character development and wonderful performances. And then there's the combat, another modern interpretation of classic turn-based battle systems that gradually reveals its tactical depth through streams of challenging encounters. I say all this not to accuse Clair Obscur Expedition 33 of being some sort of throwback, succeeding off of pure nostalgia alone, but rather because it's worth highlighting just how long the wait has been for a studio to pick up this particular baton and run with it. Expedition 33 pushes the genre forward with its flexible and expressive systems, like real-time elements imbued into its turn-based action, which helps heighten tension through every encounter. Progression is nuanced, the world building precious, and the story and soundtrack work in perfect harmony to create this gripping, heartbreaking atmosphere that you just can't turn away from.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 isn't a throwback. It's a transformative experience that should be experienced by everyone.
And there we have it. Another fantastic year of games draws to a close. Looking forward, so many questions are yet to be answered. What's Nintendo got up its sleeves next? Will we see RPG powerhouses like Fable or Blood of Dawnwalker grace next year's list? And will we finally get to play GTA 6?
Only time will tell. But until then, be sure to check out our full top 25 games of the year list over on GamesRadar.com. Let us know how our top 10 compared to yours, and stick with GamesRadar for the latest on the greatest games of 2026. We'll see you in the new year.